one they're gated about.
And hello, everybody, and welcome to the Para OR Normal Guyz. Good morning to you in Perth, Australia. It is 9:02 a.m. Sydney, it is 11:02 a.m. Thank you for allowing us to tickle your ears on the Dare Radio Network. And thank you to Jurgs for allowing us to go out on Mastiff Media. So we are live in Australia, Tampa, on the YouTube, and, well, everywhere else. Hello, Denise. Everybody come over and join the chat. We are at the Para OR Normal Guyz. 3 words, or just search at the Sportcat shows. You come over here and find me. And tonight I am lucky to be surrounded by not one, but 2 beautiful ladies. So
hello.
That's the wrong button. So
you made us so big. I hate when you do that. You put us like right there and we're all big.
Well, I don't know what I'm doing half the time. It's just smoke and mirrors.
We're lucky to even be on screen.
I got Band-Aids and shoestring back here. Well, we have a guest tonight, and he's interesting because, well, he's been in Folsom Prison. No, I don't know he's been in Folsom Prison, but he might know Johnny Cash. I don't know. Let's bring out Doug Smith. Doug, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm being silly, Doug. I don't know. I don't remember which prison it was you were in. So,
well, it was called. It's the Huntsville unit in Huntsville, Texas. It is the oldest prison in Texas. Started construction in 1848. It's surrounded by a 30-foot brick wall, so they call it the Walls Unit. And it's sort of prison within prison. It's like they've got buildings built in the 1840s. Used to be their death row there. The electric chair. A lot of them are closed down, but it's just sort of like prisons wrapped in prisons. It's a scary, really interesting place.
Am I allowed to ask how you got there?
I was about to say, would it be overstepping? And like, can we just address the elephant in the room right off the bat? What happened?
How about we go back a little bit? So so believe it or not, I'm a social worker. I did a degree in at the University of Texas at Austin in 2000. I was a social justice policy advocate, worked at the Texas Capitol. I was an adjunct professor at UT. I also had a co-occurring mental illness and substance use disorder, which got completely out of control. And in about 2007, I made the tragic error of trying crack cocaine. And within 2 years, I'd been in the back of an ambulance 6 times, 3 ICUs, 2 psych hospitals, 3 rehabs, lost most of my jobs and the right to be with my child without adult supervision. And on my 40th birthday, I was on my way to Texas prison for 4 counts of robbery out of desperation for more drugs. And I served 6, served the rest on parole, kickstarted my career in policy. And now I'm a leadership development trainer and coach working with other people like myself who've had similar life experiences and helping them to just do magnificent things in the world.
That's awesome.
That's 30 seconds. 30 seconds. I don't know.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm a paramedic, so when you said in the back of an ambulance, I was like, yeah, we see that frequently. So yeah.
Yep. And I just wrote a book called The Path of Rocks and Thorns, Leadership Lessons from a Prison Cell. And it's just details the descent into hell and getting my feet under me and rising again and becoming a leader, working with other magnificent leaders. So just investing in them. That's,
wow.
Yeah.
I've always been told by people on the street. I have no idea if it's true or not, but I've heard that smoke it one time and you're addicted. Is that fairly true?
100%. Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah, that was what it was for me. It's diabolical. It gets right underneath you on the first try, and it also causes a form of brain damage. So it hurts the parts of your brain that have to do with memory, with decision making, with inhibited action. So that saying, like, "Are you on crack?" is
Yeah.
exactly spot on. Right? You do
Now-
bizarre things.
Now, have you, like, so at that being so many years later, have you noticed any continual issues from that before?
I haven't noticed any, like, what I've read is it takes a good 2-3 years for your brain to sort of reset, and so that was
Oh.
quite some time for me. But I still have mental illness. I still need to work on it every single day, and so I have a whole team that I work with to keep me grounded. But there are times when the stress gets too big and I'm dysregulated that my mind goes there. And so, it's just daily work.
Is it a euphoria when you smoke it? Or, I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't know. I've never really, and I can't ask my patients these questions in the back of an ambulance.
Well, see, I'm afraid that if I tell you what the feeling is, people are going to rush out and give it a try. That
Okay,
is my
fair enough.
concern.
Fair
But I
enough.
can tell you, well, as high as you think it might take you, it has an equal and opposite fall. So as
Oh,
good as you feel, that's as bad as you're going to feel. And you're going to be desperate for more. And so you
to
might as
keep
well
you
give
from
up.
to
That's
keep you from
it.
feeling that fall.
Exactly. So everything you think is important in your life, everything you care about, just get ready because it's all going to go away.
Wow.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
That's,
insane.
yeah. So I was trying to, that is, I mean, I don't see many people pull themselves out as paramedics. It's usually we run you until you're either in jail or it's an overdose or something. So
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, some of the people I work with now, I work with mental health peers and recovery support peers. So these are people who have experienced drug addiction, mental illness, things of that nature. And they've trained to sort of partner with people who are going through it and help them to find a path to recovery. And they do magnificent things. They weren't in Texas. They weren't really a thing back in when I was going into the depths of addiction. But now, I mean, they might show up at the hospital. So you might actually bring someone to the hospital who is overdosed and have a peer go right in and say, okay, let's sit together and let's talk about what your life could be like in recovery, and let's partner together, and I'll meet you tomorrow and we'll keep doing this. So yeah, they're amazing.
Well,
they do.
It's
Yeah.
it's fantastic that they have those resources now to be able to start it right then and there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm on a mission to expand the peer model. Like, I think anytime someone has an overdose, you should have a peer right with you. If your kid is, if a child is at risk in school, they should have a youth peer who knows what it's like. And I honestly think that we would see fewer mass shootings in the US if we identified mental health challenges and isolation early and paired people with, like, actually got in there and paired people with someone who's actually been through it.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It really does. I will say, I know Harley has a question, but I will say I have not seen that on the streets of Atlanta yet. So,
Oh, you haven't seen certified
no,
peers there?
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. So,
Oh,
I'm not
gosh.
saying they don't
Yeah.
exist, but because we're in and out so quick, I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm just saying I had not seen it. So,
Okay, if anyone is listening in Atlanta or Are you? Can people hear us in Atlanta?
People can hear us in Atlanta. People can hear. We're on in Australia.
Awesome, good. So
Anywhere.
if there are any certified peers, mental health or recovery support peers in Atlanta, please jump onto the chat and let us know.
Yeah, that would be great. Because
Sheesh, I
there's
could use one of those here in Ohio.
Seriously, and I work with peers in Ohio. They're magnificent. They run their own organizations. Their Project White Butterfly up in Cleveland does extraordinary things with people who live on the streets.
In November, I had bariatric surgery, and they don't exactly tell you after you have that how much it's going to really affect your mental health, and it really, really affects your mental health in a very negative way.
I didn't know that. How are you coping with that?
Well, they're supposed to provide you with a psychiatrist and therapist afterwards, but most of the time, like with me and a few friends who've had this, they've kind of just forgot about you after you've had your surgery and all that. So they leave you not knowing what to do next.
Yeah.
Like you get body dysmorphia.
I would say a lot of places look at that as, oh, well, there are bigger problems, and they're not considering,
but I think
losing all that weight, what that, you have that, like you said, that body dysmorphia, and you're still seeing yourself as you were before and trying to cope with how you look now. I think a lot of places are so short on resources that they're thinking, oh, they'll be fine.
And then you get really bad depression, because like my depression since the surgery has just, it's so bad to the point that it's a struggle to leave the house at times.
It's so important for people to know this. I had no idea that the effect on your mood, your emotions after bariatric surgery, you kind of imagine like people are like having sort of a new lease on life or what have you. And it sounds like that's not it at all. And so people should be prepared for that.
I've lost 110 pounds since November, and my face is swollen today because I had someone throw lemonade at my face, and I'm allergic to lemons. So
you still look great.
But since then my depression has completely, like, nobody warns you about the negative effects of it. I mean, I don't regret doing it because it benefits me and it gives me the energy to be able to keep up with my children, but they don't tell you depression comes along with it, body dysmorphia, mental health issues, none of this beforehand. And they don't warn you that if you have this beforehand, it's going to get 100 times worse.
So what if you don't mind me asking, what are you doing to take care of yourself? Like, do you have a psychiatrist, or do you have?
Well, I had one, but then they kind of said, well, you've reached your point where you've done everything you need to do for your site, your program. So now you have to find one that's not a bariatric psychiatrist. And I'm like, but isn't that the point?
Yeah.
I need a bariatric psychiatrist who knows what I've gone through.
Yeah.
Well, and they're not considering that just because the program looks like this doesn't mean it's going to work like that for everybody.
Insurance companies think that way, and that's exactly what you said. That's the first thing I thought is, oh, you've had all your visits, you're allowed by this year or whatever. So,
well, no, they told me I could find a psychiatrist, but with here in Ohio where I'm at, the demand for psychiatrists is so hard. Like, to get an appointment, it's 6 months to a year out.
Oh, wow.
Just to get a regular psychiatrist appointment that is covered by my medical. And so I'm on a waiting list to get into a regular psychiatrist. But the regular psychiatrist isn't going to understand the bariatric side of this, everything that I've gone through. So it defeats the purpose to not keep a bariatric psychiatrist with the bariatric patient as long as they need it.
Yeah. Well, I hope you get connected soon. I talk about it in the book. I have this whole chapter. It's mental health mental health recovery is leadership, and it's, you know, that I'm really open about my own mental health challenges and what I do about it. Like, so my collaborators, and when I had staff, you would actually see it on my calendar, or I carve out the time. You know, I have choices because, you know, I have insurance and things like that. I will only see a psychiatric nurse practitioner for my medication. I just jive better with them than I do with a psychiatrist. But I also do lots of exercise. I do yoga. I have a therapist. So, and I do recovery groups. And I have to do all of them. And, you know, I'll be honest, it doesn't always work perfectly. So like, I went and saw my nurse practitioner today, and we're making an adjustment. We haven't made an adjustment in our medication regimen for years, but it's time to do it. So I always say, like, once you start medications, just buckle in for the chemistry experiment.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand. My kids, I have 3 boys that are autistic. One has oppositional defiant disorder with the autism, and then they all have ADHD mixed in with it. And then my husband, he's a disabled veteran, so he's got PTSD, agoraphobia, he's got bipolar, schizophrenia, he's got a whole safe full of medications that they have to readjust all the time. And then he just had surgery in June for male breast cancer. So add those medicines on top of it. And then he's going to have to go to therapy for that.
Well,
Needless to say, you're stressed.
Well, and I know the feeling on all that too, because with my epilepsy, the majority of epilepsy medications are mood stabilizers for bipolar and various different things. So I know, like, whenever I got put on one of my main ones, the first 3 months of that was, you could look at me wrong, talk to me in the slightest voice wrong, and I might just burst into tears or go want to punch a wall or something. It, like, I feel horrible for anybody that had to deal with me for those 3 months of getting things adjusted correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And because I know how bad, like, the figuring that out correctly was, like, if ever, and the insurance that I was on at that time for was just state insurance, and it was so bad that if I couldn't get and this is medication that I have to have so that, you know, I can not be flopping around on the floor. But the state was so horrible on the timelines of when you could get your medication. If there would be that lapse of time that I couldn't get it right on the day, because I knew how difficult it was to get situated on it, I was worried that if I missed a dose or anything, that it would be that same kind of thing again. Like, it would send me into a panic attack. Like, there was one day I went to work for 2 hours and I hadn't had my medicine, and I was so scared of what was going to happen. Like, I had never experienced a panic attack before, but I was at work for 2 hours, and I went out back and called my mom, and I was like, you need to come get me because I can't do this today.
Oh, yes. I still have panic attacks. I kind of arm wrestle them. I'm like, you're not going to fool me and make me go to the hospital for them to tell me you're not having a heart attack.
Yeah.
You know, that was probably a good 8 years ago. So at this point, I'm kind of like, I've got that good arm wrestling. Now you quit it. It's fine. It's going to be all right. You can last a good 2 to 3 days. It's fine, Cheyenne. Stop it.
Wow, I love it. This has become about mental health recovery, this show.
And I was going to apologize to you. I was like, you didn't realize you'd have to counsel us. Chris says, if I said anything bad during those 4 months, I apologize. For 3 months.
No, Chris, that was a good 13 or 14 years ago. You would have known had you said something wrong in those 3 months.
Well, you know, when
you would have gotten either. and either very sad or a very angry DM. So it's all right. We're good.
When you guys were talking about that, I don't know if I don't know if Harley or Cheyenne know this, but my wife had an aneurysm about 12 years ago. It was the bubble. It didn't rupture. And so they had to go in and do brain surgery. And of course, as a paramedic, I knew the neurologist, I knew the anesthesia, I knew them all. And so when we were in recovery, the doctor came to see us. He says, well, I'm going to discharge her and let her go home with you quicker because you can take better care of them than they can here. And I'm like, no. I was like, I've had a cold that lasted longer than this. No. But anyhow, she came home. There's no side effects. There's no nothing. But it was funny. The first appointment back, as the doctor was going to leave, there's a thing. It's called the doorknob something or another syndrome. It's the question that's most important to the doctor that you ask right as they put their hand on the door and about to leave. It's like a psychological thing. And I was like, whoa, doc, question. He's like, yes. I said, just out of curiosity, while you were in there with the waffle irons and griddles and whatever the hell you did you forget to turn the bitch switch off? And he turned around and looked at me. He goes, well, that's funny you say that, but he was saying, just like you are, your brain has to reprogram and reprocess. And he goes, I never thought about that. And I said, trust me, it's on.
Well, and it's funny with you mentioning her having that brain surgery, because I had it as well for my epilepsy, and where we got off on the whole mental health tangent thing. They really need to up their game on that for kids. Because I was about 12 or 13 whenever I had that brain surgery. And up to that point, and we were traveling a couple hours away, actually about 30 minutes from where I live now, which is a good 4 hours from home where I grew up. Nobody explaining anything to me of what was going to happen. And it's so sad because I was just I was told, you're going to have the brain surgery for this, and that's what it's going to be. And so little 12, 13-year-old me is just like, nobody has explained that this, we know at this point this isn't going to kill you, but we haven't told you that yet. So I'm just little 12, 13-year-old me is in the car with my mom riding up here just like, well, and it's a quote from my favorite book of, well, if I live, that's great. If I die, that's all right too. And just,
Wow.
being almost 30 now, thinking back on that of like, nobody told me anything. The nurse that's where you were saying you prefer to speak to the nurse practitioners. When we came up here to Morgantown to see it was the pediatric neurologist up at WVU, the nurse practitioner did more talking to me than the doctor did. The doctor would not talk to me, would talk directly to my mom. Nobody explained anything to me. And I understand to a point you've got to watch it because we're kids, but something should be explained so that us as kids are not walking around of just like, well, don't really know what's going to happen, but it'll be all right either way, right?
Right. That's actually the definition of what makes something traumatic, is you don't have any control over it. Everyone else's control. You don't even have the information. You can't make choices for yourself. So yeah, I imagine that probably still sticks with you today.
And it's more than anything, it pisses me off. I mean, like, obviously, I know I'm good. I still have the tumor. I'm halfway decently okay. I'm as good as I'm ever going to be. But just of the, I just think of the other children now, or like whenever I have children of like, no, I'm going to be like, I know you've got to, kind of talk to their doctor of like when is an appropriate age to discuss things, but I wouldn't want my kid going through feeling the same way that I felt and just kind of like Well, don't really know if we're going into the hospital tomorrow. Don't really know if I'm gonna make it out of that. But hey, at least we got a cool trip up here. I've never been up here before, so great.
Road trip.
That's just kind of screwed up.
Paige, my daughter, calls me today and she says, Wyatt's upset. That's my grandson. And I said, why? She said, well, Mimi, which is his grandmother on her husband's side, had to go to a doctor, and his great-grandfather just passed away. He was attacked by bees. He died from anaphylaxia. And then his great aunt here in Knoxville just died. And so he was all upset and was crying and said, is Mimi, when she goes to the doctor, going to be okay? Because everybody that's went to the doctor, in his mind, a 4-year-old mind, has died.
Has not come back.
Yeah, has not come back. Has died. And so, it's very important with children. So, yeah. So.
Way off topic, but just
sorry,
out there.
I don't even know what the topic is, guys. This has been great.
Well, Chris says it's kind of important the child doesn't think they're going to die. The doctor should at least take 10 seconds to stress that. Yeah, it's a small point.
Well, and I mean, even like, I know they didn't know beforehand, but at least after, of like, hey, obviously you've come back, you're good, but hey, just we
were poking around in there. You're okay. You're good. Yeah, that would be.
I will say they did forget to turn the bitch switch off.
I knew it.
I think they turned it up a little bit more.
I think they did.
Doug, I do appreciate that you're letting us share, but this is more about you than us. But being a mental health counselor, though, I'm sure that people, and obviously you have the personality, I don't want to say the look, but you're approachable. So that's why it's come off easy
Very
for
much
people
so.
to talk to you. So that's a good thing.
Okay, I do
and
have
we-
to step
well-
away because
Okay.
we have an emergency come upstairs.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
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 Bye.
Listen to you later. All right.
All right. I'm actually
but we can
not
tell,
a.
you can tell that
oh.
you cared is the thing. You can tell
Oh,
that you cared.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a counselor. I am a coach, but but the people I work with tend to have histories of things that are traumatic, and it affects them today. So it shows up in their work and their relationships. And so, I can kind of handle their emotions. Sometimes I can't handle my own, but I can handle their emotions. I'm just really comfortable with emotions of other people. And
I feel that.
I've always found that there's something on the other side of people's emotions. So one of the things I used to do when I was drinking and using drugs was I was trying to numb myself from my emotions. And the metaphor I used in the book, I told you, was Dante's Inferno. It's you go to the deepest core of hell before you rise. And that's the metaphor for life. So if I'm caught in anxiety, if I'm caught in anger or something like that, then you go all the way through it. So like I'll sit and I'll feel it. I'll feel it fully where it sits in my body and go all the way to the other end of it. And when I do that with clients, it's just magnificent because it's really uncomfortable, but step by step, they usually at one point say, I don't feel it anymore. I'm like, that's great. Let's keep traveling. And there's something there on the other end. You can ask, like, hey, so I'm wondering, what's the wisdom? Let's say that there's a person there at the other end, or let's say that emotion is a person. What wisdom do they have for you, right? Because it's an emotion, it's there for a reason. So it's trying to tell you something. And I'll tell you the truth. Yeah, that's actually why I wrote the book, is because I was feeling extreme anxiety. And at the end of that episode, I heard in my brain, I heard just this voice say, Doug, write my story. Do justice to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I like the way you process the emotions, because they are real. They are.
And I mean,
they're not just a fluke.
I've tried to look at things that way too, of like, well, the reason why there's a reason why you're going through something, even though it might be shit right now, there's a reason for it. And I like the sitting and like mulling over it to what is the reason you went through that? What is the wisdom on the other side? I like that.
Yeah, because see what happens with people is this is what happens in anxiety disorder, panic, is that you actually feel your brain is already sensing the danger first, right? That works automatically. It's like your brain is searching for the saber-toothed tiger all along, right? Even if it's not there. What happens is that fear goes up into your brain, and your brain gives you a reason for it. Right? Oh, I'm having a heart attack or something like that. And that's where the panic comes. But the fear is just your survival system doing what it does. So as opposed to getting up in the thoughts, getting into the body, just like, what am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? If it's in my chest, okay, is that like a fist around my heart? How about if I gave it some space and let it spread out, right? You're in your body as opposed to up in your head.
That's great.
Yeah.
I could use that on the street.
Okay, we need to bring it down here and just.
Well, he said it. He said the brain has come up with the answer before it asks the question is the problem, and it just snowballs after that. So I've seen it a million times. He's 100% right.
I think the only issue but I guess at that point it's you are in contact with the people who want help for that. Because I'm thinking like my ex had a lot of problems with that, but it would be the getting him to understand and focus and like, okay, it's not it.
Oh yeah.
it would definitely have to be like somebody who is willing to like sit down and
exactly.
That seems like a great listener. He gives off a soothing vibe.
Why, thank you, Chris. Yeah, the last thing you want to do if someone is in a panic attack is to go in and say, hey, just breathe and feel your emotions, right? Because they're in a panic attack. It's already the switch is already turned, right? And so it's just being with, and if they know they have panic attack, they might have medications for it if they already know diagnosed. Otherwise, you can't talk someone out of their panic attack. Once it gets going, they just have to go through it.
Now, how do you find in the situations with people like that to getting them to understand that they need help?
Yeah, you mean when people have panic
Not
or anxiety?
necessarily. Yeah, just when they have panic and anxiety in general, and getting them to understand of like, okay, what you're doing on a daily basis isn't cutting it, and you might want to look at other options here because you've got the medicine and you're sitting through them, but everything isn't. It just ain't cutting it, to put it bluntly. Like getting people to understand that they might want some other help.
That's right. If someone needs a psychotherapist, then I'm going to refer them to one. I'm not one. What I can do is I can use my lived experience, and I can say, hey, listen, there have been times in my life where my panic and anxiety was out of control, and I was doing a lot of stuff that was only making it worse, like drinking, like using drugs. That made it so much worse for me. So I get how it is right now. And here's what I did that worked for me. That might not work for you, but I did find something, and I know that there's a path to recovery for you as well. So give them some hope. And then, hey, if you want to talk about resources, this is why I love certified peers so much, is because they have that powerful story, but then they also know, like, where is it that person can go for help?
Mhm.
right? Or where are the recovery groups where they don't have to be alone with it? So, yeah, I absolutely love certified peers, and they're hard to find. You know, thank you, Denise. They're hard to find in some places. I want to see them everywhere, but if you're looking for them, they're sometimes called mental health clubhouses. um, yeah, that's the thing. When you share about your mental health, people people
Mhm.
feel heard. Yeah,
And
I was a
I don't
suicide hotline counselor for a while. It just
I,
give people the air.
I don't want her to not think I saw that. And
I
congratulations, 36 years is amazing. She says she's coming up on 36 years of sobriety.
That's
Congratulations.
amazing.
Yeah, well, sometimes you just got to process those feelings. And
Yeah.
sometimes the people you come in contact with are they feel like society's forgot about them, that nobody cares. You know, they're
Well,
living yeah, they're living from day to day.
well, the people I come in contact with. So I actually work as a leadership development trainer and coach with with certified peers, and I do this in multiple states across the country. And so what we do is certified peers are doing things that require them to show up as leaders. They're oftentimes the only certified peers in the organizations that they work in. So they're really transforming mental health, recovery support. If they're families, they're changing the way that families work with families when they have kids with behavioral health challenges. Right. So this is a big transformation, and it means that sometimes they're not understood. Psychiatrists, case managers may not understand them. So we really need them to show up as leaders, utterly credible, and creating those relationships. But even more, we want them to go run their own organizations, like harm reduction organizations like Project White Butterfly in Cleveland, Texas Harm Reduction Alliance down in Austin. We want them running their own organizations in some cases, or we want them pushing the envelope, getting into, like, I would love to see family partners, which is a type of peer in all juvenile services department. So that a family with a kid in the juvenile system always has another family they can partner with. So these are the people I'm working with. We're working to transform mental health and recovery.
I know West Virginia needs that really bad because I have a former boss of mine actually who her son um, has a lot of issues with his autism, and he now, because it was so, the resources just aren't there that she needed to, because of, well, I'd say he's 23 now, and with her having to work, also having another kid, the help that she would need for him, because his father also passed away, and having to process that was even harder for him. And just she would be reaching out on Facebook all the time of if anybody knows of any other resources, because the ones that they had in Beckley they just could not get for him, because it was almost like it was up to 18, and then after that, nope, oh well. And now I believe he is a ward of the state because that was the only thing that she could do. And even that's not helping him. She had put another post out that she had went to go visit him, and in a month he had lost, like, he was down 2 shirt sizes, his hair was falling out. He was not in not in not in a good state.
It just
And
makes you want to cry. And, you know, I don't think I have a stepson with autism, and, you know, I've spent the last 10 years just making every single mistake possible because it's really hard to learn autism. He's extraordinarily high functioning, but he still has autism, and I get it wrong all the time. And most parents do, unless the parent themselves is neurodivergent, right? It is really difficult to get it wrong, or to make mistakes, to misunderstand it. And so it's critical that all families have some type of support. And so again, I'm an evangelist for families caregivers who have kids with autism or special needs, being available to other parents who are just trying to understand it. I think it's just so critical. Like, no one should be left in the dark, and everyone deserves that support.
So,
Well, and I know at this point with everything, even just with all the help that he needs, but I could only imagine now all the help that she needs, because I know she, for the last 2 years or so, has just felt so helpless. Like, she feels like a failure as a parent. Like she's done everything wrong. She hasn't done what she feels a mother should do, and everybody's just like, you have done everything that you can, just all the resources are not there that you need. You have literally done everything that you can.
She is doing the very best she can.
So I know she like the resources need to be out there for the parents as well as the children.
There's an amazing woman in Washington State, Rochelle Madigan, and I don't remember the name of her organization, but it's Rochelle Madigan, and she runs an organization for families of kids with special needs, particularly neurodivergent kids. She's a great one to look up because she might know, that organization might know of resources outside of Washington, but she also should be giving hope to families. What she says is, I just learned to make the impossible possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
that's deep. Well, there should be peers for everything. As a paramedic, you always hear PTSD. You think, oh, it's for soldiers and all that. As a paramedic, you were trained to just walk it off pretty much. And, it wasn't until I had an on-duty attack that I realized that, well, I didn't realize it. The orthopedic surgeon realized I had PTSD. But when I went to talk to people, it wasn't like they didn't understand, we intermingle in people's nightmares daily. And they're like, okay, you got 45 minutes, 46 if you're lucky. Yeah. So it was really hard to communicate. So there should be peers in almost any type of mental health, whether you're dealing with somebody coming through a rehab and recovery or autism or.
Yeah. I remember, if you don't mind me talking a little bit about suicide, I just want to prepare your listeners. We're getting into deep stuff, but I did that before I tried crack cocaine. I was dealing with suicidal ideation all of the time, and I did attempt, and just I made a different decision before it was too late, and the paramedics got me. And I remember, I'll never forget this conversation, because the paramedic was just busy doing what he's doing with me, and I just asked him, am I the most serious emergency you've seen tonight? And he just stopped, and I'll never forget it. He just stopped what he's doing, and he looked at me, says, no, but you're the saddest. And so I can only imagine what it's like for a paramedic.
Yeah. It's because I don't want to make a show about me, but I mean, we see you for 30 minutes and then we drop you off, and a large portion of the time, unless you're in a small community like here in East Tennessee where I started, but if you're in Atlanta, you may never know, and so sometimes it does bear on you. So, and to answer Denise's question, no one talked to us. Mental health in certain professions is almost like a little black check mark by your name. So, firefighters, police officers, I couldn't tell you the number of police calls. No, wait a minute, let me rephrase this. The police car accidents at high speed that were no skid marks. And it took a fire officer pointing this out. He says, you see why they're investigating this? I said, well, it's a fatality. He says, there's no skid marks. And I was like, Wow. And I mean, and then I started paying attention, but nobody talked about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you do. Paramedic. I mean, first responders definitely need mental health supports. Absolutely.
Mhm.
I made it a point. I didn't do this with a paramedic, and I wish I should, but um, in one of those episodes, I actually went back and found the law enforcement officer who responded to just let him know I'm okay, how much I appreciated how he was with me that night. Boy, now I feel like I should try to find that paramedic too.
you probably would enjoy it. We always enjoyed that. I've still got cards and letters and stuff. I'm retired now, but I still have cards and letters that, patient. One in 5,000 may do that. That's probably a low ball. So yeah, it means something to us because we don't normally see what's on the other side of that, ER visit.
That's
So,
right.
but,
Yeah.
all right, so we're going to ask you before you get out of here, because we know we only got an hour with you, but we do want to ask about your spooky background. Surely, out of all these experiences, you have some kind of spooky story for us.
Oh gosh. um, when I was at the Walls unit, that's actually so they do executions there. That's where the death chamber is. And that's also where the chamber was where they did the electrocutions. They called it horrible name, but they called it Old Sparky. And so you could kind of feel an ominous air. There's a lot of executions that happen in Texas every year. So when someone was being brought to the unit, one of the condemned individuals, they would take them from Polunsky unit, which is about an hour away, drive them to the Walls unit. And so they kind of like get everyone kind of like no movement so they could get the van in to the unit, literally into the unit, and then behind the hospital building, ironically, and take the person into the death chamber. So you could kind of feel that, right? It's always in the air. Remember, the pill line was the same place where they had Old Sparky, and so like we're just lined up in this chamber. And you can just kind of feel like literally the electricity in the air, like of the people who had died in that room. And what I didn't get to experience this, but there is, in order to get to the death chamber, you have to go through the very oldest part of the unit. And so when the culinary folks, when the incarcerated people would make the meals, they would have to go through that. And I've heard countless tales of people sort of waiting for someone to kind of open up a door for them and them standing alone in this space and having encounters with people, just people who
It's like walking the
just
green
sort
mile.
of just kind of stand over it. They look back and there's someone standing there. So it was a really spooky place.
Wow.
It was it just being part of the history. I always use the metaphor, each one of the bricks, this unit is so old, millions of people have been through there. So I said each one of those bricks represented some way in which someone violated someone else, or was violated, one of the people inside who was really truly let down by someone or really abused by someone else. And so like that is the actual structure of it. Each brick represent harm done. Yeah.
So they're building the energy into it. Yeah.
Exactly. You can feel it. Yeah. I remember the first night I was there, that when there was an execution, and I knew they happened at 6 p.m. And I was just sitting in my bunk, and I could just feel this deep, deep sadness inside me.
The energy, just the energy
Yeah.
shift.
Hmm. Absolutely. Is that spooky enough?
No, that's very spooky. Um,
Yeah.
because like they were putting intent into it with every brick. So they were
Yep.
they were
Mhm.
they were intentionally making that a dark place. I mean, just in my
Well,
mind, from what you've described, I just picture this place that's all bricks with dripping water and the swinging light. You know, it just. Ooh.
Yep.
well,
That was what it was like
intent,
in that one building. What's
intent
that,
goes a
Shay?
long way.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. The building, I talk about this in my book. The education building itself is a crime scene. There was a horrible hostage incident back in the 70s, and some guys managed to get a gun in there, and they took the educators hostage, and there was a standoff for several days, and they finally negotiated that they would go ahead and get them a van and get them off the unit and get them to another country. So the hostage takers built a kind of a big box. They put all these boxes together, and then they put the huge box over them and the teachers, and started coming down the ramp. And here's the thing: prisons never negotiate hostage
Hmm.
release. So it was all a ruse, and they just open fired, right? They just tell anyone who's ever coming into prison, we do not negotiate. So if you're in a hostage situation and they're trying to get out, we're going to
You're
open
screwed.
fire. Yep. And I think at least one of the educators, I think two of them died.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is that in your paperwork of when you're signed on to work?
Yeah, sign here. Sorry, 3 copies. Wow.
they actually they actually put a sign up. There's a sign saying we do not negotiate with hostages. So once you get in that prison through the second fence or what have you, if there's a hostage situation, they're not going to negotiate.
That's why I'm interested here in West Virginia to go to Moundsville, because I know some crazy stuff happened there, and I'm sure you can feel all of that whenever you walk in too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's a feeling when you go in. I've been in prisons in Tennessee, California, Florida, Georgia, as a paramedic. So, and that's what the record says. It's all been explained. But yeah, there's a feeling when you go into them, and for some strange reason, and I don't know why this is, Doug. Maybe it's just a male going into the women's prison, but it feels 100 times heavier in the women's prison.
Yes.
Mm.
So this is really important to note. Like, there are females are underrepresented in prison. That is to say, females are 51% of the population. In Texas, they represent well less than 20% of the whole population. So what that means is, yes, there is a gender difference in a propensity to commit crime. And when women do get involved in criminal or get on the other side of the law, there's usually a huge amount of past trauma, mental health challenges, abuse, histories of sexual assault. So the gravity of what women have experienced when they're inside of prison would really boggle your mind. And so, yeah, if you're feeling a heaviness, that's what you're feeling, is just a history of abuse and unmet mental health needs. That's true in women and men's prisons too, but it is particularly true in women's prisons.
I know when we went to Weston, which was the asylum, you could just, how it felt was, it was just kind of that note of sadness.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't necessarily eerie, but just sad.
It is just sad, right? And I get to see the other part of it. One of the people that there's one person that I got to mentor, and her name is Maggie Luna. She runs Texas Harm Reduction Alliance in Austin, Texas. She had histories of abuse. She was let down and failed so many times, and in and out of jail. She had to learn to take care of herself on the street, and they called her Boss Lady on the streets. She even has tattooed on her hands BOSSLADY. When she got out, when I met her, she'd been out for 2 years. She had grabbed a hold of some recovery. She started to get involved in advocacy. I was able to bring her on as an employee within my organization and get her to work in advocacy. And she's unbelievably effective. While she was gone, during all of that, she had lost the rights to her children. She worked on the piece of legislation that allowed for caretakers who have lost custody to regain custody of their kids. And she was one of the first to benefit from that. And so her son is home living with her. Now she's the executive director of an organization, and her oldest daughter is home with her son, and then their youngest daughter hopefully will be reunited soon.
That's great.
That's another hell of a success story like your own.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Doug, before we let you get out of here, tell everybody where they can find your stuff. Remember, you have an international audience today too, so I want to make sure we get the word out that this is some great material and we can help a lot of people. So where can we find it?
Absolutely. So the book is called The Path of Rocks and Thorns, Leadership Lessons from a Prison Cell. You can get it on Amazon or any bookseller. You can reach me. You can find me on my website. That's www.d-degree, like college degree, d-degree.com. So yeah, check it out there. You can, if you want to contact me, there's a contact button there. And it also has information on what I do with my clients in terms of leadership development, and my book page is there. So check it out. My wife, here's another reason, my wife did my website. So you got to check it out.
Put that
And
in the show notes.
If you don't have an audiobook, you need to read it.
Yeah, we're working on that now.
You need to be the one that reads it. You have a great voice for audiobooks.
Thank you.
And Doug, I don't usually do this, but Mickey may get mad at me. I would like to invite you, and I have another guest that I get on frequently. He's called the Australian Hypnotist. He has a similar story to yours, except over in the UK. And now he's a mental health, I don't know, he's not a therapist, but like you, he does hypnotherapy, and he takes it to the people that he helped. So that I would really like to get you two on one show. If you wouldn't mind, that would be a great show. Plus he might hypnotize you and you could quack like a duck or something. So
I'm all for that.
Yeah, you
That
have
sounds
to,
great.
you 1,000% have to come back.
yes, absolutely.
Thank you. This has been so great.
It has been. And Chris, I read your comment. I read your comment. I didn't read it out loud, but I did want you to thank, you were one of our super fans. We had forgot about you. Thank you for opening up about this. It means a lot to us. And hopefully just by this little teeny tiny show, we can help someone. If we help one person, then I've done my job. So
yeah,
Absolutely.
all right, Doug. Well, thank you. I got to let you go because Tong is backstage. So have a great evening, and we will see you soon, I hope.
Yes.
this has been great. Thank y'all. Take
Thank
care.
you, Doug.
Thank you,
Thank
Doug.
you. Bye-bye.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, we're gonna have to get him back. Okay, I don't want to cut into the time with our next guest. She's got a great story too, and she's written a book in 2 languages. So Tong, hello, how are you?
Glen, right?
Yes.
And how do I pronounce your name?
Shy.
Shy, sorry. Shy,
It's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, my name pronounced as Tong Ge. Like the second one is a bit harder for English speakers, so you can call me Tong or TG. It's okay.
Okay.
I can do that. I apologize. So
We're a little southern up here, so
Yeah.
so tell us about yourself. You've got books in 2 different languages, and we've written a couple different things.
Yeah, I was born and raised in China and didn't come to Canada until in my late 20s. So English is my second language. I used to write poetry in college, all in Chinese. After I graduated from University of Saskatchewan for my master's degree, my education and my profession has nothing to do with creative writing, but being a writer is always my dream. Like since I was in junior high. So when you first graduate as a new immigrant, you have to look after yourself, your job, your income, your house, and I didn't start to write until 2004, but I was still writing in Chinese to write my family stories into books. I didn't believe I could write in English until one day I realized that if I write in Chinese, I can never get any help. No critique group, no freelance editors, no publishers for sure. So by 2006, I started to take creative writing courses and read books on creative writing, read lots of novels, English novels, and start to write in English. So it's a really long journey. And I still write in Chinese, just mainly poetry. So now I have poems and essays and my first debut novel as my debut novel published. And this one have won multiple literary awards. So it's a validation for my writing ability. And I have other 2 books written. I'm just looking for publishers or publisher.
wow.
Yeah.
Is English one of the hardest languages to learn?
For Chinese is. I don't think it's for like people speak German, Spanish or French. For Chinese, because Chinese is very different from English. We only have one tense. We only have present tense. We don't have past, future, all that. We don't have plural. Our verbs do not change with subject, and we use our preposition differently. It's just so different.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
Wow.
theoretically I know what to do, but as you write, you forget, right? Because we say like we go to school today, we go to school tomorrow. We go to school yesterday. We say I do, you do, she do. We say 1 dog, 2 dogs, 3 dog. So it's pretty hard.
I would
Yeah.
imagine so.
Yeah.
That's a lot more to remember than it's kind of like you've got 3 different lines there instead of 1 to
Yeah. Not only you have to
crazy.
study grammar, but you have to remember.
Yeah.
And don't forget the dialects or even local languages, because some areas have not only do I have a southern draw, but we use different words like y'all, and I can't. Used to could. There's a whole bunch of. So yeah,
Yep.
I use that in a sentence. By God. So,
Yep.
but yeah, I mean, I've been told that before, that it was one of the hardest. So I can't imagine having to learn it, and then you're going to publish a novel.
Yeah.
Wow, your IQ must be like 10 million. So.
Oh, it's a long learning curve, and I got lots of helps. I hired freelance editors 2 times around, because usually people hire once, right? They hire when they finish the book, they hire a structure or called a developmental editor and to work on a big structure. And then when that is done, they hire a copy editor. I hired a copy editor as I was writing, so she helped me on an installment basis, because
as you were getting stuff done, handing it off to
Yeah.
make sure that it was
because I was
That
too
makes sense.
embarrassed to present my book, my writing to my critique group. So I got her edited first, and then I present to my critique group after all the changes, and later the structure editor's suggestion. After all those changes, then I needed to hire a copy editor again because I made the changes.
well,
So-
I mean, I mean, that makes sense to do it as you go along because, I mean, if you wait till the end to do it, that's going to be a lot of extra work you have to go through to change things. So,
That's right. Yeah. But it's a
so
long
what?
journey.
So, what is your first book about?
This is based on my grandmother's story. So my mother's mother. And the time span is between 1920 to 1966. And it's a historical fiction. So the Golden Phoenix is the protagonist. And basically her journey as a um, woman with a bound fate, like way back when in China, women would get a fate bound to marry well. Because for 1,000 years, that was a tradition. Because a thousand year ago, a Chinese emperor like tiny fated woman. That's how this tradition started. And also, her foot binding process started too late because she didn't have that her mother passed away when she was born. So her father delayed her foot binding process until it was a little bit too late. So she never achieved the 3 twin golden water lily size, which 3 Chinese twin is about 4 inches long. That was ideal size. And her fate was 1 inch too long. That's how she didn't get married during her marriage age, which was between 16 and 18. She didn't get married until she was 26. And she had to marry a widower because young lives are gone. And in Chinese culture, again, in the old time, a woman who marries a widower is called a house failure. That's why the title of the book is The House Failure. And also women were denied education. She didn't have education. She was illiterate. So that makes her life extremely hard. Then her husband passed away. We left her with 5 children. Then Japanese came to China, like an invasion, large-scale invasion into inland China started in 1937. So the whole book is, pretty. It's epic and it's sad. And meanwhile, it's also she's very resilient. She
had a lot stacked against her there at the beginning.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but eventually she fought back.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good. Are those traditions still today? Is that still a current thing?
No, it's not. Actually, the Republic of China's government announced the abolishment of the foot binding in 1912. But lots of people are still doing that. The last case of foot binding discovered in China was in the 1950s.
I had seen something about that there were some people that in smaller areas that still did it, but it widely wasn't still the norm.
That's right. Yeah.
When did you come to America?
I came to Canada in 1980 as an international student.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm struggling to ask you questions because I have friends that are Chinese and they're over there, and you can't ask certain questions because all the emails are read or their correspondence.
That's okay. You can ask me questions if I don't feel comfortable to answer. I just say I cannot answer that question.
Well, I mean, no, it's not. I don't want to ask anything personal like that, but the Chinese government is very protective of what goes on within that bubble, and they don't let things out. So when you got out and started experiencing what we will call freedom, how were you exhilarated? Were you scared? How does it?
Oh, of course, exhilarated. I paid a high price for my freedom. Even though I was legally came to Canada, I was an international student. I had my visa, passport, visa, and the admission letter, and all that. Even scholarship. I was almost escaped to Canada. It was another long story. I paid a very high price. I think that for human nature, not only human nature, even animal nature is go for freedom, right?
Mm-hmm.
As I said the other day, if you open a cage that is a caged bird, see if the bird will fly out or not, right? You open the caged animal, see if the animal will run out. That's just our nature, human nature, animal nature, whatever you call it. So yeah, China has the firewalls. So they like you cannot use no YouTube, no Gmail, no Google, no Twitter or X. You cannot have all this like any of those in China. You don't have access. Not even Amazon. There's no Amazon.
Really?
But yeah, but there's there's a firewall penetration softwares. People sell it secretly. So if there's lots of Chinese like young people, they buy it, then they sneak out and they see what is happening right outside.
Now, what is the reason exactly that they don't allow all that? Is
Well,
it just
knowledge is power, right? Because Chinese government have their narrative of history of what happens before and then today. They don't want anybody question that. So,
gotcha?
and also they want to paint a picture that Western country is horrible. United States is horrible. There's drug. There's a like a mass murder. There's shooting. There's like it's just a horrible place. So the China is the safest place on earth. So Chinese young people, especially the talented ones, they wouldn't want to come out. But actually, lots of them indeed come
Do.
out because yeah,
Wow.
it's just yeah, they want to keep their narrative and they don't want you to have your independent thinking, right? If you
I didn't
yeah.
realize that.
It's much easier. You know why? Horse like in the horse racing, they have the horse wear blinkers, or like in
So
China
you've
when
got
they use donkey to do the farm work, they put they actually blindfolded donkey, right? Because you don't say, you just follow the lead, just follow the order, or you.
if you don't know what's out there, then you're gonna follow what's right in front of you.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, they're indoctrinated so they don't know any different until they get that glimpse of coming outside of that bubble.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
a lot
Well,
of
so I guess that would make sense of why the minute you have the freedom, you take it.
You grab it. Yeah,
yeah.
precisely.
So, and I was going to say, and a lot of the history, like with families, is all verbal because they really didn't like you to, for lack of better words, keep diaries or journals, because you're subject at any time for somebody to come in, right?
Yeah, during the Cultural Revolution in China, which happened like lasted between 1966 and 1976, lots of people, they either burned their diary because they're too afraid, or they were discovered. The diaries were discovered, and they were put in jail and persecuted. And my family, from my father's side, one uncle, because during the Cultural Revolution, our family, like the record of the like a family tree, go back to generations. Like in China, in Chinese culture, not each family, but most family have that, and they entrusted this record book to youngest uncle. They thought he was the safest. His place was safest one, so they entrusted this to him, and then he was too scared, and then he burned it himself. Now we couldn't go back. Like I probably know 3 or 4. I know 4 generations above. Then after that, we lost all that.
Wow.
Just a family tree record, right?
So this story, obviously, you say it's historical fiction, but it is based on your grandmother. How was this? Just verbal, spoken down, or?
Since I was a child, my mother has been the one who was telling my family stories, like her side of family stories. So she's like a storyteller. She likes to tell stories. So I got lots of information from her. When I decided to write this book, I also did my own research and interviewed other family relatives and family members. That's how this book was written. My grandmother, she was also a seamstress, but she was not just the average seamstress. She was making gowns for opera singers, for opera companies, the costume for opera companies. So way back when you have to hand embroil the patterns, there's no machine to do that. So this like artwork.
I've watched videos on that of
Yeah.
the where a lot of them they would paint them as well, of just
Yeah.
how intricate and detailed everything was. It really was. It was like an art form.
Yeah. So way back when it was done by hand. And when now we're talking about paranormal is normal, right? This is how it's related. So when I started to write my book in 2004, but in Chinese, then after a while I couldn't continue. Well, first of all, writing in Chinese, I couldn't get any help. Second, I was suffering repetitive strain injuries in my both arms. So I was on disability for 2 years before that. By 2004, I thought I could start to type again, but I turned out I couldn't. So I stopped. That was 2004. Then 2005, my then boyfriend committed suicide.
Oh gosh.
And that was the first time I went to, I tried to reach the other world because I believed, I'm still believing this life after death. There's a soul, there's, another world. So I went to a place, somebody introduced me to a church. It's called the First Calvary Spiritual Church. They're very different. They're not traditional Christian church. They just do three things: healing, medium reading, and develop your psychic power. So first time I went there, I was the only Chinese. They're all white. It's a very small church, and I didn't know anyone. Nobody knew me. And every session they have two mediums on stage and randomly call people, like they say, "Oh, your other, your loved one came through from the other side." Then I would say they're about 90% right. And the first time I was there, this I don't know if they don't call pastor, they call reverend. Is that called reverend? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So Reverend Oliver, he just called me. And then he basically said, my father, the person was on the other side. My father came through, even though I was trying to reach my boyfriend, my father came through. And through my father through this reverend told me, or medium told me that he wished I finished the book. I just started. I didn't tell anyone. Nobody knew.
Wow.
Not only like a local white people, but like my Chinese friends. Nobody knew. And he said that he wanted me to finish the book, and he felt proud of me. And then my grandmother, this protagonist, the base, she came through, and because the medium would say this little old Chinese looks like Oriental lady, and describe how she looks like, and she would present her the gown she made with the beautiful patterns. She would show that to the medium. So then I knew who came through, and she ever since then, every time I go to see a medium, she was there. My father, sometimes he was there. My boyfriend eventually, with another medium, he came through. But my grandmother is the one, she's always there. And the last time I went to see a medium in Calgary, by then my book was already published. So after we chatted for a while, I want to know what my grandmother think about. What does she think about this book? And she said something, I forgot the original words, but basically, she felt so proud of me. She highly praised me, and it was pretty. So I would say they are with me, even though they're not here. Before this book published, I was in a critique group, and we write different things. Sometimes short stories, essays. So one time, and our critique group, were, on the writers on this association's website, we publicize it, and whoever they can drop in, anybody can drop in. So that day when we were gathered, this a beautiful lady just dropped in. She never been there before, and she never showed up after that. Just that one time. She used to be Miss Calgary, like about 10 years before that. I think when she dropped in, she was like 30 or 31. So 10 years before that, she was Miss Calgary, right? Very beautiful lady. And So I was sharing a sexual harassment, sexual abuse experience with a group when I was young, like when I was 20 years old. I suffered that in China. And I was very emotional. It was very hard. That was probably first time I have ever told anyone. And I wrote a piece about it. And so after our meeting, this lady said she'd like to have coffee with me or chat with me. There's a restaurant just next door. That was already the 9 p.m. in the evening. And she insisted. So I said, okay. So we went to the next door. So after we sat down, she said, look, I'm not a psychic, I'm not a medium, but I have the psychic power. She said, while you were telling your story, this Oriental little old lady was standing just behind you. And she want me to tell you, this is like, I don't know how to word it. Like basically, my grandma said this is not big deal. This is like compared with what she has gone through, right? This is not a horrible. It's horrible to me, but what she tried to tell me is put everything into perspective and be resilient.
What you went through compared to what she went through.
What she went through, yeah.
Yeah.
And but because she showed this young lady her gun again, so I knew it was her.
She's so proud of it.
Yeah, and she also tried to tell the medium, in different occasions that because she has artistic talent, so my artist talent is from her. She claimed that credit every single time.
Did you give her a byline on the?
Yeah. So I know she approved this book because in the book there's some there's a part I was not 100% sure. Actually, not one part, but two major things. One is like the protagonist, developed a romantic relationship with her adopted son. So I was not sure about that. I was not sure how she would feel, right? Because in Chinese culture, like they were both single, they were not related by blood, but older woman with a younger man, that was a taboo, right? Older man with a younger woman, perfectly fine. Before 1949, one man can have multiple wives, but not for women, right? And I was not sure about that. Another one was she was once raped by the Japanese soldier, so I was not sure, because I include that in a book. But from that visit to the medium, I know she proved everything I wrote here.
Now, considering how, and I mean, I know you said it there are the aspects of it that are true, but it's technically fiction. How did the rest of your family feel about it?
Well, only I didn't tell rest of my family.
Gotcha.
Well, actually, I that's not correct. I told my nephew and his wife because they're a younger generation. They're more like removed, and also, well, it is in English. They can't read English anyway, so I didn't tell them the detail. I just tell them I wrote this book. But I didn't even dare to tell my cousin and cousins because I don't know how they would react. One of my cousins
where you were talking about how, like, everything being written down, how that was looked at. I wondered if they might look at that a certain way because parts of it are true.
Yeah, because my family would know what this story is based on. Like a strange reader, if I don't tell that reader, she or he wouldn't know, but my family knew. I know. Yeah. So I don't want to lose my family member over this. Yeah. Even though, Golden Phoenix is totally a positive character in the book. She's a protagonist. There's an antagonist that's horrible. That my family has gone through that. I'm sure they were okay with that. But even for protagonists, right? Those things there's a culture thing. It's a change tradition and culture. When a woman is violated, it's always like it's her fault. It's like she's no longer clean. She's she's tarnished. It's just I think it's getting like better now, but it's still with older generation, because my cousins, they're in their like 60s and 70s. I don't know how they would review that,
Is a lot of your family still over there?
Yeah, my father has passed away. My mother is here in Calgary, and my sister, my cousins, the rest of the family are still there.
Well, after writing the book, are you going to be able to go home?
I think so. I'm going to test it out this September. If I disappear, make a big noise as much as you can.
We will do it. Yeah. Well, I asked that seriously because I feel like from everything I've heard that pretty much they microscope everything, and what you're saying would be outside of what they would approve of.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, there's some precautions because to be honest, this is my pen name. This is not my real name. That's the one reason I use a pen name. Yeah. And also, they said make sure before you go to China, before you arrive, you need to delete some things from your cell phone, like some pictures, certain groups, certain messages. Don't take the chance. Someone said nobody check your cell phone, but some other said that they randomly just ask you to hand over their cell phone, even though you haven't said anything publicly,
Yeah.
not in favor of their narrative.
Yeah, Americans, we are Westerners in general. We sometimes get a big head and think a lot of ourselves, but
or think that we have it bad in certain things.
We don't realize how small the world is and how in other cultures we're viewed.
Yeah.
And so, getting a glimpse inside that is fascinating to me because you don't hear that many stories like this.
No. I just learned it today. Because I'm going to go back to China in September, I just learned today that because I have a Canadian passport, they have a designated hotels for foreigners. You can only stay in those hotels. You cannot choose any hotel you want. So those hotels will be more expensive, but you don't have a choice. And also, I think probably it's easy to control because they are, work with a hotel. I wish they allow me to stay with my relative, my family. I said to my cousin, I said, how they're going to track me? Like if I arrive there, I just leave the airport, go with my cousin, how they're going to track it? They said, there's a way. I mean, just be prepared, be mentally prepared. You may be asked to stay in this designated hotels.
Wow.
Yeah. I would have never thought of that, but yeah, like you said, a good way of controlling you.
Yeah, and you have to have a passport to stay. You have to show your passport to stay in the hotel.
Okay. Right? Do they take it from you, or are you allowed to keep it?
No, they just show it. Last time I was there, you just have to show your passport. They take down the information, but they don't keep your passport.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good. But you can only come and go at certain times. You have to schedule it, correct?
Oh no, you choose your own time.
Oh, you do? Okay. Well, but you can't change it. Like if you get there and go, oh, I decided I want to stay an extra week. You can't do that, can you?
Well, no, I think you can, as long as your air tickets allows, right? Because usually you buy return tickets. I think that's more, yeah.
Well, I guess this comes from my view of everything is so looked at under a microscope is where my thinking is on that. So,
and we think, here in the US that we're looked at so much under a microscope, but when you look at compared to that,
it's not even near.
No.
Recently, there's a couple of high rank executives, Chinese American, they're American citizens. They went back to China and they were not allowed to leave. It's been 6 months. A couple of cases. One is a bank executive, pretty top up there. Another one. So there the reason were given to them was they were conduct some spy activities, something, but they were not. They just went back to visit. Like this one guy, he did not know until they were trying to come back. His wife and his two children were allowed to leave, but they detained him. Like they won't let him leave. So there is already happening. But I hopefully I'm like small enough. I mean, if you're insignificant, hopefully they don't pay attention. Right?
Don't draw any attention to yourself. Wear a gray shirt, black pants. Just stay plain.
Yeah.
Incognito as much as possible.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's got to be so scary.
Well, during the COVID time, it was even worse because everyone who arrived to China, they mandatorily you have to stay in a hotel for like how many days?
Yeah.
And you have to go to the hotel they ask you to go to, not just you choose. And those hotels like charge, humongous amount of fee, and you have to pay for that. It's very tough. There's one hotel in southern province, I forgot which province. During the COVID, that's the people return from not from other country, not only from other country, but from locally from other city of China, return to that place. They have to all stay in that hotel for like 14 days or something before they can return to their home. But that hotel collapsed. So there's at the time like 10 people were dead and 37 were missing or something. It was a huge. It was like how do I put it? It's a disaster, and then later they found out that this hotel was validated every single building code when it did this renovation. So they put the huge water tank on the top of the hotel. It was too heavy, and also they want to have more rooms, so they added a one floor between floors with all that concrete and brick and everything. Hotel was not built for that. That's how it collapsed. And there's not only those who stayed there for quarantine, but also doctors. Doctors there. They have hotel staff. They have some other workers. They were all buried. There's one family of 5 all died just because they were asked to go there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That when you hear stories like this, it just gives you a chill because, like I said, you think we've got it so bad, but that's
how the lockdown, the zero they had something called the zero COVID policy. They want to have zero COVID in China, in entire China. So they had this very strict lockdown, and not only that, if they found in many places, many cities, is if they found this apartment building, there's people, with symptom, they would seal up the entrance. Seal up means seal up. You cannot come out, like with airing boards, with like literally seal up. Mm-hmm. So then in November of 2022, November 26th of 2022. In Xinjiang, in there's one city, Urumqi city, one apartment building had a fire. Then people could not escape. So 10 people died.
Oh, because it was boarded up.
Yeah, it was boarded up. They could not open it from inside. There's no fire escape. And official number was 10 died and 9 injured, but we don't really know. So that ignited the so-called white paper movement. White paper is Chinese people protest with one piece of white paper like this, because they're not allowed to write anything, right? Like, so they did that, and that movement started happening all over the place. That's actually ended the lockdown policy by December 2022. Wow. There was 3 years lockdown, 20, 21, 22. And the economy suffered huge. So many small business owners, they went under. There's no money from government. Not like here, right? In Canada, in States, we have money to help these small business owners in China with no money.
Wow. So just basically we're on your own.
Yeah, and your escape road is barred up. Like you, yeah, that was like so stupid because we all know that could cause like like a huge disaster. But
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm a paramedic firefighter. And yeah, as soon as you were saying that, I was like, wow, you do that in America and you'll go to prison for life, you know?
And also there's some like a sealed up apartment. There's one retired violinist. He had this horrible illness condition, like he was in too much pain and he couldn't come out, get any medication because they couldn't get out. So he just left his wife a note and jumped from high rises, jumped to his death.
Wow.
There's all kinds of stories. People, women need to give birth and no hospital will take her because she didn't have the pass. Like your pass means you get a certain color of pass means you can move around, and another color you cannot move around. And she didn't have that, so they wouldn't take her. So she eventually had a miscarriage in front of the hospital.
Wow.
It's all kinds of.
Is it getting better or is it staying the same?
Well, the COVID, the lockdown is over, but when by the December 2022, when they stopped that, when they opened it up, the cities, they didn't do it gradually. They did it like one, just like floodgate, like go. And lots of people, especially older week, lots of people died. There's a huge wave of deaths around that time. So it's like, lots of people said China. Well, I would admit, like in good times, like I went back in 2015. Entertainment was great. The food was great. It just felt they're so great, right? And but you never know what's going to happen the next minute. You could feel you're in heaven the minute before, and then you're in hell the next minute. And also depends on who you are. If you're important, you have power, you have position, money, or somebody, then you probably will be okay. You probably will survive. But if you don't have those, so in China, the invisible hierarchy, like the class system, is always there. The Chinese history has this class system, like openly. I forgot. I think that's from probably Qing Dynasty. I forgot the first six, but or first seven, but the intellectuals or Confucius intellectuals were the ninth. They're the ninth class. They're below prostitute and only above beggar. That was like historically. That's how because the emperors, they don't like intellectuals because when you have more knowledge, you start to think for yourself. It's harder to rule, right? So they don't like intellectuals. And but even today, right? It's invisible. Everybody knows it's not written in paper or something, but everybody knows there's different class. If you're peasant, you're probably at the lowest class, and if you're government officials, you're up there. So many young people, their lifetime dream is become a government official. The job is secure, and they would have lots of benefit. But so that's why they said, well, how many Chinese scientists have won Nobel Prize? Like so far, only one, because all the kids want to be government officials. Nobody wants to be a scientist.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, everybody's competing for that one job, or however.
Yeah, when they have a government clerk job open up, you often see like thousands of applications. There's one time there's 10,000 people apply for one government official position, entry level position. Yeah.
Nice. Wow. With all the hype and talk on the media about how tensions between the West and the East, is that a real thing, do you think, or is that just the media hype trying to get the public scared?
It's real. It's
Is
real.
it?
And in reality, it could be like worse than you think.
Well, I could imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Well, I mean, they said today on the media, I heard that there are submarines watching us off of our coast. So
yeah. Well,
it's time.
put it this way: there's a book written by two Chinese military guy. One's general, one's something. It was written in the 1990s, or published in the 1990s. It's called Unrestricted Warfare. Restricted Warfare. That book you can read for free on CIA's website, and they talk about various how to use it as a weapon. They talked about how to use natural disaster as a weapon. Right? If they can somehow not manufacture, but how to kind of make the earthquake happen in a certain area. How to use weather as a weapon. How to it's all kinds of biochemistry and propaganda and the communication technology war and all that. If you're interested, just check it out. Check the book out.
Oh, yeah, I probably will. Yeah, because the media hypes it up so much to where they want you to live in fear. And
well, I think it's a real. I don't think that China will do anything to the states, but they may do something to Taiwan, right? If they try to take over Taiwan, then will state go out to defend Taiwan? When that happens, there's a war. But also within Chinese like upper leadership level, they're also very divided. Not everyone want to have that war. So it depends on which side win.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
Because like you said, there's so many people trying to get a job. What's to say that the person on the other side there may just trip and fall down a flight of stairs, I mean.
Yeah. And also in the China's problem, not only just the top, it's throughout from top to bottom. Because of the propaganda and the education and all that, Chinese people, those who don't know much, don't read much, don't have much education, don't know the outside, don't know the truth, basically, they were easily influenced. And now China just have a movie made. It's called the Nanjing Photoshop. It's about how Japanese carried out that Nanjing massacre in the 30s. Right? It is a historical truth. It was true. Reportedly, there's 300,000 Chinese were killed, civilians. But the movie is made with lots of graphic, like horrible, how do I put it? The camera work, and the schools would take children there, even like young children, and parents would teach young children there. To take young children to the movie, and after that, this young kid said, when I grow up, I'm going to kill all the Japanese, right? And so also between China and Taiwan, we're all Chinese, and there's not just one or two, but a whole bunch of Chinese people. They say something like "liu dao bu liu yuan," which means we want to have Taiwan, that island, but we don't want any people there, which means they are for kill everyone on that island. They just take the island over. This is not from top. The top Chinese leader, they would never say something like that. But from the bottom, but where all this hatred come from? Right? They're not Japanese. The people in Taiwan, they never killed your Chinese people. Where does this come from? And because with this I think heavily influenced public emotion, or from the government. One, this happened 3 times. The Japanese kids in China somebody tried to kill the child. The first time, the child was killed, and also a Chinese. I wouldn't say nanny. It's like she works for the group of Japanese children in this Japanese school. She tried to protect those kids, and she was killed. Then happened twice again. I think in the second and third time, the child didn't die, but was attacked. almost dead. And after that, okay, the Chinese woman who were killed was praised, but government never released who was the murder. Who was that guy? Nobody know. Nobody know his name. Nobody know his punishment. They just So it's not just from top. It's like a whole system. That's why they don't want you to know things outside of China. So, in China, the television station will, if there's a natural disaster happening in the States, they will have like a 24/7 report on that, non-stopping. But if the same disaster like a flood happened in China, there's no report. So the Chinese people, they got smart. They said, gee, our government is put way more attention to America than our own country. So anywhere outside China, if there's a disaster, like Chinese people know right away. But fortunately, we have smartphone and social media, so even things happen in China, we still know. But there's no official. Often there's no official report.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
What does your culture think of the paranormal?
China is a traditional Buddhism country. So I think lots of people believe next life, I believe reincarnation, and there's lots of stories. More and more, they would, parents would ask the young kid, like below like 3 years old, and some of these young kids, they could recount how they choose their mother and their previous life. I think more and more people believe in that. Like before 1949, Buddhism formally believed reincarnation, and basically they don't call heaven and hell. Well, I guess they also call heaven and hell. Basically, there's a cause and effect. If you do good things, good deed, rise of karma, and your next life, you'll be in a better position. But if you do bad things, you probably will pay in your next life. And the whole theory about that. And not only when you reincarnate, it not necessarily you become a person. You could become an animal, a horse, a cow, or a dog, or pig, right? If you didn't do good things in this life, you may become a pig next life, and then you'll be slaughtered. And if you're pretty good, you probably will reborn as a human. But if you're extremely good, like a saint, then you doesn't have to come back to this world. You become immortals. You become like live in heaven. It's pretty similar to some Western religions. Yeah.
Well, religion over there is a taboo topic, isn't it?
Well, it's really complicated because after starting in the 80s, China has its economic reform and opened its door to the Western world and become more tolerant to things like other religions. But like today, there's lots of temples in China, right? Monks. Lots of those temples, monks, they go. This is their job. They go to work. They, after the whole day work, they go home. There's some temples that even have job post openly. They're looking for a university graduate. They're looking for this and that, and so it's no longer a true religion. It's become a job. And also the monks, they're asked to pledge their loyalty to the party before God. So they have to say something, we're loyal to our country, to our party, and then they can start their worship to their God. So, and recently a very famous monk, like he's in charge of this very famous temple in China called the Shaolin Temple. That was a place they used to have Kung Fu monk. So those monks will practice martial arts. And so throughout history, they have that reputation. And then in the 80s, there's one very famous movie was made based on Shaolin monk, right? There was a Kung Fu monk. And now this guy, he's the top guy in this temple for the last 20 years. He runs this temple as a corporation. And he has about 10 plus mistress and 20 plus children. And he drives the most expensive car in the world. He has like millions of money, and he transferred this money outside of China. Like he been reported multiple times. Nobody said a thing or did a thing until recently. He is arrested. So people speculate that he's finally arrested because his protector may be in trouble now. So he now is arrested. But like people know this for years, nobody did a thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's religion, but but there's also underground, like they call family Christian church, but it's underground, and they're often in trouble if they got discovered, raided. They could be. But if you want to practice true religion, you always have to have a higher alert. But if you go with the leader or party's requirement or demand, you'll be okay.
Wow. Yeah, you really don't understand it until you step outside our little bubble here in the U.S. how sheltered we really are.
Yeah, in Western country, in some, I know the Catholic Church, you go there, you can light a candle, right? You pay some money, you light a candle, and this Shaolin temple, they made it modern, so now you can donate money to light a candle on their website. So this candle for this much of money, this candle for that amount of money. It's no like the action of literally go there and lit the candle and worship God. No, it's just
It's a virtual. Wow.
they made it very modern, very effective. They opened this Kung Fu courses all over the world, not just in China. That's how they made so much money. It's all kinds of ways to make money.
Well, if you're in the know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But you could be born into a family that's farmers or just a factory worker or whatever, and you may never really get to go higher. Is that true?
Yeah, well, depends on when, because for us, I was born in the 60s. So 1980s are a golden time for China, even though it was not perfect. There's still, compared with Western countries, still have lots of problems. But it was like a golden time in China. 1990 is not too bad, but after 1990, the whole thing is, the control is tightened up, and tons of things happened. So 80s, and in the 80s, you still can change your fate, your future by study. Right? If you have a university degree, if you work hard, it happened. But now I think these doors have closed. If you don't have connection, it's very hard. There's one guy who has 2 master's degree and two PhD degree, and he couldn't find a job, and he was doing the fast delivery. How do you say that? Like delivery. He was a delivery guy, and he made this video tape. He showed all his degrees, and he said, "I'm doing this now." Yeah.
Wow. I love to hear the stories, but I hate to hear about the effect on the people, because it's just devastating.
Chinese writers from a long time, like probably pretty much started, I think, in the 90s. They felt that their imagination cannot catch up with the reality. They just and then
we weren't really allowed to have an imagination, so the creativity is stifled, kind of. It's kind of like a bottleneck effect.
yeah, there's one Chinese guy won the Nobel Prize Literature Prize, like a Nobel Prize for Literature, right, in 2012. He's an excellent writer. I love his stuff so much. And then about a year ago, another Chinese guy tried to take him to court because in his book he portrayed this a Chinese soldier who went to Korea War, portrayed him not so positively, like more negatively. This guy was like a wife abuser. So this other Chinese guy called upon 1.4 billion Chinese said, "Hey, each of us, if each of you can give me $1, I could have this case open." It's all kinds of things, but he was not the only one. There's lots of people um don't like Mo Yan because he just speaks the truth in his book. They don't like him that much.
Well, no, because the truth is different from what they've been told.
Yeah, I mean,
It's strange.
I hope he's okay, because I don't know which direction China will go. If it's go down to that cultural revolution, we say it could be cultural revolution 2.0, 2.0, then this guy could be in big trouble, because during cultural revolution, lots of writers and playwrights and artists, they killed themselves. A lot, like really famous ones, really top ones. So just hopefully, yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, before we let you get out of here, tell everybody where they can find your stuff. Your book sounds fascinating. I especially like that you had help from the other side of the veil with it.
Yeah.
So that really ups the paranormal feel to it. So where can we find your work?
Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Indigo in Canada, Kobo, Apple Raid, Walmart, lots of places. The only thing is that if people search for this book on Amazon, because of the title, they needed to put the writer's name, Tong Ge, after the title. Otherwise, they will get a whole bunch of household items. You know, Amazon sell everything, anything, right? So that's only a tip I have. And also, I encourage people to check out the Goodreads reviews, just from readers, average readers. And I have a 4.5 rating on Goodreads, 4.46 probably on Amazon so far. That's pretty good.
You've won awards.
Yeah, I won 4 awards on this book and 6 finalists or something.
Hey, I haven't won any award, so you are doing great.
You will.
One day, it's my hopes.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. It's been fascinating with a peek on the other side of the veil as far as writing the book, and a peek inside of that culture, because
Very insightful.
yeah, I mean, a lot of people just, what, like you said, they'll go to the movies and they'll see what we're told pretty much.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you, Glenn and Shai, for having me here. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for coming. We really appreciate your time, and I wish you good luck, and I wish you safe travels in your journey.
Yes.
So if Mickey messages
You'll
me,
have to we'll have to make sure that you come back, and when you do come back, you'll have to come back on and let us know how it went.
Yes, I will.
Absolutely.
I'll tell Mickey.
That's what.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please do. All right. Well, have a great night, and thank you. I really appreciate your time. It was eye-opening.
You too.
Very much so.
My pleasure.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Wow. Like I said, you really don't understand how it is, unless you hear from other people, because a lot of people don't know.
I wouldn't have even thought a fraction of that.
The only reason I've gotten some of that is because I have friends and they've told me, we've gotten out, but we can't, they can't go back and visit their family. Their family could be persecuted for something they do over here. Like if they get a DUI or something in their, like she was saying, the hierarchy, they could bust them down and bring them down. So yeah. And I knew about the written history. I just didn't know how far back it went. And that's fascinating that they only want you to go back, what'd you say, 2 generations? So history is always dying. History is always dying if you think about it, because the next generation doesn't know about the 3 tiers up. So history is always dying. Like she said, there is no today, tomorrow. What did she say? Today, tomorrow, yesterday.
There's no past tense or future tense. There's only present tense.
Yep. Crazy. Crazy. All right, Shy. Well, I appreciate you coming on tonight and being with me. I'm hoping now that you're settled in, maybe get you back more often. So that's my dreams and hopes. Next week we have Mickey has provided us with some more authors. So we'll have a great lineup of authors. I think I'll have to look. Heck, I'm so bad about scheduling right now. I'm so behind on emails. I don't even know what day of the week it is. But we'll have a bunch
remember,
of great
it's paranormal, so it's Wednesday.
That's right. So have you got anything going on that you want to tell anybody about?
No, you can occasionally go over to Spotify and check out Bracket Bastards, and I am there on occasion.
Okay, cool. Well, I've got a show tomorrow that I will do at 1:00 Eastern, and it'll be the overnight hours tomorrow in Australia. So I appreciate Dare Radio for allowing us to tickle your ears. Hopefully you got a little insight into some different cultures, and hopefully if you needed some help, Doug's book can help you out. And I will see everybody tomorrow. Cheyenne, thank you. We're going to go out of here, and thank you to Yerg's Radio also and Mastiff Media for allowing us to tickle your ears as well. So we will see everybody on the Para OR Normal Guyz next Wednesday night. And then tomorrow night, we have the CBS Big Brother show. So everybody in Australia, tune in. We're going to have a live eviction. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.
We have a 138 at